Welcome everybody to Humboldt, all walks of life. Today, we're doing a little bit something different. We're doing a different series today. As you can see, that my co-host Tim is not here today. We're focusing on experience that I and a bunch of my battle buddies have experienced in Iraq. It was actually known as one of the deadliest days in Iraq in a long time, where they actually had to put tanks on ground and bring them to us. I believe we were like two hours to the nearest post for any assistance. So today's show, we're doing a special series. We got my buddy and Army veteran. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
A lot of my battle buddies know me as Gonzo for my last name. I don't know where we go from here. That's my introduction.
All right. So today we're just gonna be talking about um, what happened June 6th. So let's talk about a little bit about your deployment to Iraq. How that happened for you? Walk us through your emotions of getting there. You know what you were ready
Um,
for.
to be honest, man, I didn't really put too much thought into it. I just saw it as taking a trip with my brothers. It really didn't dawn on me that I was there until like the first time we caught incoming, and then that's when it became real for me. But I didn't put too much thought into it. It was just a trip that me and my brothers were taking.
Right on. So when you got there, when was it that you realized like that it was real? It was real. I know you said like the first incoming, but like describe that to me. Like everybody remembers their first
All right,
incoming.
so first incoming, I remember I was with Peterson. He was my bunkmate, and I remember he was out the door in seconds, man. Like left everything in the room. He was out in seconds, and I kind of just like lollygagged over to the bunker, and he was like, "Do you understand that that's incoming? Like that's mortars or rockets landing?" And that's when it really hit me. Like, okay, I get it now.
Man,
After that, I was first in the bunker.
every time, huh?
Right.
Well, that's a lie because I recall a couple times we were playing zombies and Call of Duty.
Oh, the room was the bunker.
Right, we just looked at each other like, do we go? Do we keep
Yeah,
going,
yeah.
dude?
It's hard to tell what's even real at that point. You're like thinking about it, like, yo, is that incoming?
Right. All right. So I came a little later than you guys. I came like I think they sent me like 10 days later because I had to sell dwell time because I just came back from deployment with the Fort Hood with the First Cavalry Division, and I remember they were like, "Nah, if you want to go, you got to sign this dwell time." So I know me and a couple of guys that came from the cav unit signed, and I know a couple of guys who didn't sign, and they didn't come until like later. But
Yeah,
it
one
was
seven had just gotten back too. Not too. They only spent a year back in the States before they were redeployed.
yeah, I did 10 months and then I left.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, dude, that incoming was ridiculous. I remember when we got there to loyalty. I remember the outgoing crew was like, "Oh yeah, we don't ever take incoming. We
Oh yeah,
don't."
I remember that too. Yeah. Oh, it's gravy. You guys will be good. Yeah, we got hit like probably three times a week.
Nah,
It was
dude.
pretty.
So from what I recall, we actually got hit every day. We took incoming every single day, whether it was RPG fire at the towers, or incoming shots at a gate, or the wall perimeter. You remember they broke the breach. They made a hole in the wall trying to
Yeah.
breach the base. They, it was a big ass concrete hole in the wall, and we had to pull guard on that. Um, we took incoming every day until 15 days before June 6th. because I remember the first day that we didn't take incoming, I was at the basketball courts with Floyd and all the basketball players, Hartwick, Campbell, a bunch of them, medics that are here on our screen here. These are actually some casualties that we took from June 6th. Unfortunately, these are six of our brothers that we lost. Five of them that day, and top right is
Control.
my best friend Centrone. He died 10 days later uh, in the air, getting transport to a burn unit. Yeah, 15 days is what I believe we took. Free days. Because I remember I was getting anxious, bro. I was like, dang, dog, we ain't got hit in like 3 days. What's going on? I started getting
Yeah,
anxious.
and then it was, we had the FPs. We were training the FP. I feel like that's really when it happened, man. Like after we brung the federal police onto our post and trained them.
Right. And I think that was piss poor judgment on the command. You know what I mean? Because these guys had cell phone GPS trackers on their shit, so they're walking into the base, walking
All they
right
had to
to.
do was pace themselves.
That's all they
Yeah,
did. Yeah, we would let them in through the same thing, the same gate. They took the same route,
yeah.
went right to the middle. Where we were doing our like we should have did the combative stuff outside. I feel like we should have never done it at the volleyball court. We should have done it on the Iraqi side and just had a couple of guys pulling guard perimeter, a 360 perimeter with a couple of gun trucks, and everybody take their vest off. You know what I mean? I know that the
They, I
that
guess
the
they got mad that the female cooks finished the combatives course and they didn't. I remember that, man. I
right,
remember the female cooks serving chow with knots on their heads.
dude. It was just a bad day. All right, so
It was a bad day.
so let's uh so let's talk about what was your role on the base. What did you do?
I was a driver. I was a driver for a lead vehicle in first platoon. Um, I started off as a gunner, and I probably got like maybe a month into it, and then I switched over to being a driver. And a little anxious, because you don't get to do much, but you're trapped in the vehicle. Everybody gets out, dismounts, and gets to look around, and you're just in your vehicle. So it's a little nerve wracking, you know.
Right, just being a sitting target. I get that.
Right.
See, I was lucky. Nobody wanted me to stay in the truck. They're like, "Nah, come on, Zach, get your ass off. You've done this shit so many times. Let's go." So it's kind of a little perk of not having to sit in the truck. Uh, all right. What about after? I know that there was we got closer to getting the rules had changed in Iraq, so we had to shift our tasks. Like we weren't allowed to go out anymore unless we had the Iraqis. So we pretty much became base defense because they didn't want us to leave posts. I think they
It's
I
a
think they
really funny way to say that we were sitting targets, but
we was. If you notice, food like
yeah,
what did they do? Our mission changed. We stopped patrolling. We stopped leaving the gate, and then we were just sitting targets. The nearest help was 2 hours away from us. And then we were out on the OP. We also started the sniper OP, so we had the Hog 2 side and the OP. So I remember like me and Pity, Peterson was up there when they got hit with the RPG, flew right past his ass and hit
yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
it hit that
left the whole.
the hole in the elevator
Yeah,
shaft, and then
yep.
and then we went up there to relieve him. I'm like, oh shit, But so we're up on top of the OP. And for those people who don't know what the OP is a old abandoned mall. Well, it wasn't
Yeah,
abandoned.
Hope base.
We took it over, and we called it Cope Base. And then the other side, we had the sniper team. The Hawk 2 side was just at the other side of the mall on the roof. And we had to go up like 10, 20 flights of stairs, and then you get to the
Oh
elevator
man,
shaft, and then you got to walk up another 12 to 15 feet up this elevator to finally get up on the roof. You're exhausted because you're wearing 100 pounds worth of gear. You got
yeah,
your
man.
rifle.
About 120 degrees outside.
Yeah, I'm glad that we built that little thing to put the waters and shit. Because I
Oh
remember,
yeah,
dude, we that little
bringing
zip line,
chow, everything
yeah,
up there.
dude, walking up
Yeah,
10
that was
flights of,
essential, man.
yeah, dude, that was like probably the smartest thing we ever done. And then right down below the roof was the gas station and the main highway, so people would shoot at us from there, and take pop shots.
Yeah,
And
pull
you,
over anything.
yeah, so it was interesting once we went to base defense because they realized, hey, these guys ain't going out, they're not doing anything, and
I actually got a AAM for moving a couple sandbags across the rooftop.
well, because
uh,
you're exposed, dude. You ain't got no
yeah,
weapon. You're
no,
not on guard. You're exposed. You're
yeah, I
gonna
get
take
it, man.
sniper fire from across the way. Like,
Cold base.
dude, it was that it was interesting. It was
I
just
always liked walking through there. It was like you could see the history, the breach walls, and
right.
from Marines. Everybody's tagging up in the building when they were there, years they were there.
Yeah, and that place used to be. If you look back at it, the Iraqis said when they were telling us about the history there, interpreters they were talking about how that was like a stronghold for their insurgency, and they just
Hmm.
came through and just military came through
Yeah,
and just wiped them out and
yeah,
cleaned that shit up real quick. I was like, damn.
right.
So and it was spooky up there. You know what I mean? Like, I, you, I'm not scared of people, but when you can't hear shit and you can't see shit that you hear, it's suspect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like there's been times where we're walking up the fucking elevator, getting trying to get up to the elevator shaft, and it sounds like people
Well,
is walking around, and you're like, oh, good, you know what I
it's
mean?
all it's all the souls. It's all the souls that the Marines left behind.
Right. And you walking through that, dude, and there's just concertina wire. So concertina wire, for those who don't know, is just imagine giant ass barbed wire. So imagine a
Right.
prison with barbed wire 20 times the size, dude. Like the barbed wire is probably as big as me and this fool. You know what I mean? And then you just stretch it out, and they just wrap the whole thing. There's nowhere to walk inside of that mall, dude.
Still water in the basement.
Dude, there's like, and then when you hear shit, you're like, oh shit, what was that? Oh shit! And then you got
Yeah,
you got Pity fucking with me because he was up on the base, with
yeah,
me. Oh Zach, come on, let's go ghost hunting, bro. No,
yeah.
no, bro. I'm
Everybody always wanted
brown.
to explore.
I'm that
You
dude,
only
man.
had about you only had about 10 minutes to explore, before you had to be on your shift.
Right,
So it's like you can only take so long in between change of shift.
right. And I'm not with that. I'm gonna disappear before my shift. No, thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
Or my thing was what happened if somebody, because we weren't doing patrols or nothing. We were so confident in our and how much concertina wire, because that whole mall was filled. Like there was literally no room. Like concertina wire on stacked on top of concertina wire on top of concertina wire. So it was like
and
there was
keep everybody out.
right. But imagine that somebody took their sweet ass time with some pliers and came through there. That was my thing. I was just like, man, what if they came in through the back? We don't ever go to the back because we can't get through. What if they're coming in on
Yeah, you
us?
don't even know it's like an unknown place back there.
Yeah, because our we literally had a route just straight to the stairs to take us up to the elevator shaft, and then from the elevator shaft to the roof. But shit changed. We went from doing patrols and doing all kinds of stuff. We did a bunch of humanitarian patrols. I remember they only let me, uh, First Sergeant
Or,
Deathridge, and Sergeant Diaz out the truck, and everybody else stayed in the truck. And
yeah, I remember those days where the kids would ransack your vehicles and rip everything off the outside of your truck.
yeah, dude, I know. And it was fucked up because the only cover I had was Sergeant Diaz. He went on the roof. First Sergeant Deathridge gave him a ride, dude. But there were so many people there, dog. I remember this motherfucker abandoned me, fool. I was pissed off. Fucking First Sergeant Deathridge were right there, and he's getting overwhelmed, and I'm telling the Iraqis to back up because they're just grabbing all the trying to grab all the shit off the truck. And that fool said, "All right, Zach, you got it." I said, "Nah, Top, I need a battle buddy. Where the fuck are you going, dude?"
Yeah. I'm
Dude,
not going in there.
he turned, he whoop, with his M4, dude. He grabbed the wall, and he was tall. You know what I mean? First sergeant desk was
Yeah,
like 6'3", 6'4", or some shit like that. I don't even know. This dude grabbed the wall and just said, "Whoop." I said, "Where are you going?" "I'll be back. I'm gonna check on the trucks." Dude, he was like in full panic mode, bro. It was overwhelming for him. You know what I mean? And
yeah. Well, shit, it was overwhelming for everybody, man. Here we go. How do we manage that crowd? It's a crowd of kids, So it's like, and then you do the best you can. You try to do, you rack your weapon. You try not to point it at them. They're kids at the end of the day, but
right.
it was crazy. That day was crazy. We're there to help.
Hey, that was the day that who was my driver? Covarrubias. I had the
Oh,
captain.
that's the day he rolled over.
I had the captain in the back sitting in the truck with me. Okay, Captain Morgan. And dude, I'm a fat boy. I always made sure that my truck was cool. You know what I mean? Like I always made sure I went to the DFAC. I got to go boxes. I got food
Yeah,
because
snacks and everything,
snacks and
right?
everything. Everybody else, stupid. They stupid. They want to be sleeping. They want to do that. Hell no. Fool. I woke up early. I fucking had to pump myself up. Go to the defect. You know, that's how I pump myself up. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna blow up. There's gonna be food everywhere. Fuck this.
Oh
They
shit,
be
he
like,
was
"Damn,
eating
dude,
good too.
there's a buffet right here in this truck. This fucking guy died good." You know what I mean? And I was like, "Fuck that." You know, that's how I pump my up. I'm a foodie, dog. Go get something to food. You know, got a bunch of food. So, anyways, back. I go to the truck, keep all my shit in the truck, dude. I probably had like 6 sandwiches in there, fucking, all kinds of shit, dude. And drinks, Rippets. Remember we had this big ass coolers in the
Yeah,
DFAC with the
Rippets.
Rippets. I take a case of Rippets, fool. I tell them I don't
Maybe
give a fuck.
Tiger Claw.
Yeah,
It was like
Tiger.
made with liquid cocaine.
No, they said it was
Uh,
tiger's blood. That's what they
it's
claimed.
crazy.
And then uh, we get out there, dude. We're doing this humanitarian aid mission, giving out footballs and backpacks and all kinds of shit. You know what I mean? And so he bounces on me, and then they done with all this shit, and I'm over there by myself. Sorry, I see Sergeant Diaz. I was like, "Hey, yo, watch me, bro," because I'm literally down here with like 300 motherfuckers by myself, dude. And then the only backup I got is him on the roof of the school and uh, the Iraqi army guys that were with us. But you know what I mean? Those guys, my deployment before us, those guys were turning and shooting on us. So I really didn't have too much confidence in them. Um, but we get into the Humvee, and we're about to dip. Man, everybody makes that fucking turn. You led us. I recall you leading the convoy. You guys made it. Everybody made it, and then we're the last truck, dude. I got Captain Morgan in there, and he sees me passing out sandwiches to everything. Everybody's eating or whatever, snacks and shit we got, and then he looks over at me, and he was like, "Do you have an extra one of those?" I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
"No,
yeah.
no,
Yeah, not for an officer.
not for you, sir. You should have went to the DPAC." And then first sergeant was like, "Give him a sandwich, Zach." This is my last one, Top. I only ate one. There's MREs in the trunk. We're going back to
Yeah,
base.
yeah.
Nah, but Captain Morgan was cool, dude. If it was somebody else, though,
He
I would.
was he was almost too cool,
Yeah,
man.
he was chill,
Remember,
dude.
remember before we deployed him at when we went to Fort Polk, he was like, out there. Like if it
Oh,
wasn't a real training, he was just out there, bro.
yeah. Dude, he was cool, man, and he did take care of us. He got lucky though because
That's cool.
it was a change of command, right? I don't think he was around for June 6th. We had a different captain. Who was our captain
I
at that
don't
time?
remember. I don't remember. I remember first our home and got sent home.
Oh yeah, nah, he didn't get sent home. He got sent to the green zone.
Oh, he didn't get sent back?
Nah, he got that fine ass interpreter pregnant.
No, I remember the deets. I wasn't willing to spill the deets, but I remember he got sent home. I remember he wasn't with us.
Nah, he wasn't with us because he went to the green zone. They gave him a staff job because he couldn't be a first sergeant. He got relieved of first sergeant.
They took his diamond. Yeah,
Yeah, but it didn't take his master sergeant.
yeah,
The
but
diamond doesn't
still,
mean anything. You're a master
it
sergeant.
it
You're
it,
a master sergeant. The only
it
time
does.
it matters is once you become sergeant major, because think about
It
it like
kind of
this.
does when you're in that career though, and he's
Nah,
on that path.
nah.
It kind of does.
It's all politics, dude. It's all a NCOER.
I'm talking about for self pride. You
Right.
know how it probably felt to him.
But a first sergeant is like your progression towards sergeant major. You know what I mean? You went from sergeant first class to a master sergeant, and now you got some staff job. You go work, the S shop. You work, you're the master sergeant in charge of.
Some gravy shit.
Yeah, you're working next to sergeant major, and he's mentoring you, teaching you, whatever. Then the next step, just like a captain, before captain makes major, they're like, all right, your lieutenant shit is over with. Now you need to go to the battery, to the unit level, and you need to learn how to be a unit commander. All right, now you're a unit commander. Now you need to come learn work staff, how battalion is run. All right, now you got to go to more schooling. All right, now you can be a
It's the
battalion
next
commander.
level.
It's just nonstop. It's like being you go from being the section chief to platoon sergeant.
Right.
You have to get that experience at first. So first sergeant is really just like that was really like first sergeant Olnix, and any first sergeant's real progression of being, a master
I'm not gonna
sergeant.
lie. I like Sergeant Olnick. He was almost too real.
He was cool. He was a G. Bro.
He was a G. He was too real.
Hey, we tied up staff sergeant Bur- what's his name, Burlington. Remember? We tied his ass up. Oh, or yeah,
Oh yes,
on the
yes.
litter. We tied
Oh,
him.
what was his name? I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about. I forgot his name,
We
but I
tied,
know who you're talking about.
bro.
Left him outside the top room.
And knocked on the door, and Top comes out. I was like, "Yo, what the fuck?" Hey, and then incoming, incoming, incoming.
And he put on the litter.
And he was like, grab some. Man, we grabbed that food, took his ass to the
Great.
bunker. The whole platoon was out there for his birthday. Yes, there was definitely a lot of good times while we was out there at JSS
Oh
Loyalty.
yeah, man. It was some great times. And when we jumped Jay-Z did jump through the window and got
Oh
Jositis.
yeah, for his birthday, he thought
That
he
was a
was
good
so
one.
scared, dude. I remember that shit. Right, there's
Oh
video of
man.
that. There's video. I see. I wish we would have got. I'm gonna get him to try to get on the show for me, and
Yeah, man. Gotta get everybody on
yeah,
here.
I'm gonna try to get everybody to tell their little piece. Um, so a little bit about June 6th. I wanted to take like the first 20 minutes and just shoot the shit. Talk about what their role on base is and this and that. Um, so what I like to do now is to get into the hard part. You know what I mean? I deal with therapy. Uh, this topic triggers my TBI a little more, and I might slur a little bit, and my heart starts pumping and stuff. So it messes with my brain. My blood is just racing through my body. So bear with us. Um, you want to pick up where you from what happened. So let me give a little rundown. So we ain't been attacked in 15 days or so, and then June 6th comes, right? So the night before, I remember I was sitting at the smoke pit, uh, was sitting there talking with Cook. Cook is the photo of the victims here, bottom left. Um, I was playing basketball with the medics, two top left, and we were playing basketball at the basketball court. After that, I remember going over to the smoke pit. I was actually fucking with you, Gonzo, and then everybody disappeared after that. June 5th, and then I was talking to Cook because June 6th was actually his birthday, and he was talking about some, drama that he had going on at home, sad stuff. But I won't put his business out there. Keep that between battle buddies, me and him. And then the morning, I was supposed to wake up and go to the OP, and then top right is my best friend, one of my best friends, Centron, Marco Centron. He actually got the June 6th off that day because he was studying to go to the board to become a non-commissioned officer so he can become a sergeant. That night, we went back. I think we played a little bit of zombies, and then we called it a night. So, what was it, like 5 a.m.? 5 a.m. There was no sirens, just explosions. So, let's pick up from you waking up.
Oh man. It's crazy because I feel like the trauma of June 6th wouldn't allow me to remember much before June 6th, but I can remember June 6th vividly, bro. It's I remember doing PT. I was on remedial PT because I couldn't pass my run.
Okay, tell people what
Um,
remedial PT is. Because
yeah, remedial PT is when
Cook
you
was
can't
supposed to be
pass
there.
your yeah, when you're not able to pass your physical fitness test. They put you on remedial PT where you train every morning till you're able to pass your physical fitness test.
And what was it
I
that you kept
myself
failing?
couldn't my run I was too slow.
Them little legs you got.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. You know, when you 3'5", you know. But I remember it was like I think like 5:30 in the morning. And I remember walking. Uh, we were walking to the gym, outdoor gym, and I remember just joking with the guys. I can't really remember who was there, but I remember making jokes about hearing noises. And I would say shit like, "Hey, man, you heard that? That sounds like a round leaving the tube." And sure enough, seconds later, man, they just started falling. And before we even got incoming sirens, they were landing.
Well, we didn't
Um,
we didn't get the sirens uh, till mad late. It wasn't until Germany. I'm gonna have him on here too, but Germany was working the talk that day, so pretty much the radio and the cameras. He was working the headquarters. Um, he's the one who pushed the sirens. I'm gonna have him on the show too one day and tell that so you understand why the sirens didn't go off, and it's fucked up that the sirens didn't go off. But go ahead, my bad.
yeah, no. And then I remember we just scattered, man. Everybody just started running whichever way they could to a bunker. Um, I remember I was the only one out of that group. It was probably like maybe 15 of us.
Big
Everybody took,
bodies.
yeah, right, right. And I remember everybody ran the same way. And for some reason, my brain just thought differently. And there was a little, remember the cut in the at the volleyball courts? It
Yeah,
was like this one T wall that was
between the
like
T walls that had,
sideways.
yeah, so you can get in, and then you came in through
Right.
the backside.
Man, everybody ran straight towards the indoor gym, which we were on our way to. And for some reason, I took that cut. It was like tunnel vision. That's all I could see. And when I got through the volleyball court, that's when I seen the porta john get blown up.
Dude,
It just
I was
in the fucking air.
I was down the I was the only one there, dude. That porta john that blew up, I was in that what do you call that? That hallway. I just came
Oh, down that
I
aisle.
yeah, on that aisle, I came around that corner and that shit went boom and I fucking flew and I hit the T wall.
After that, I was shortly after that, I was in the bunker. You know, the bunker's maybe what 15, maybe 20 meters from the porta john that blew up.
Yeah.
And now I'm just in there, and slowly but surely, everybody starts pouring in. Everybody starts pouring in, and we're all just hunkered down in this bunker, man.
Damn. So
This
you
guy's
didn't even.
praying. I was cussing. I was screaming. Fuck! I was losing my mind because I knew that the rounds that were hitting, they weren't far. You could feel the ground tremble. Like you could smell the burning already. I knew that the rounds were landing close. I'll never forget when Sergeant Bell, man, he was like a bionic man. Like me and him always had a like a rocky relationship, but I gained a lot of respect for that man. He got blown up three, 4 times during that deployment, and every single time he walked away from it. But June 6th, I remember he came into the bunker with blood pouring from his head. And he was
That
like,
was the bunker by the
somebody,
volleyball court, right? Not the one by
this is the
the.
one right, yeah, right at the volleyball court,
Yeah, not the one over
right
by
at the
the
end of
aid
the row
station.
of chews.
Yeah.
And I remember he came in the bunker, man, and he was like, not a panic in his fucking face, man. No panic at all, man. And he was like, somebody look at me. And we're all green soldiers, man. It's our first deployment. We all just kind of like looked up at him, and he was bleeding from his head. And he was like, is it bad? And I don't think anybody in the bunker, I think it was so much adrenaline rushing that nobody in the bunker could say anything. And he asked again. He was like, somebody fucking look at me. Is it bad? And we all kind of was like, no, you're good. 'Cause at this point, we're like, bro, you're yelling at us. Like, I think you're all right. And yeah, like 3 days later, he was in the gym lifting weights and shit. I gained a lot of respect for Sean Bell after that.
All right. Now, when the you were in the bunker, how long were you in the bunker for? So did you hear all the screaming and the chaos that was
It
going
it
outside of the other bunker? Because I never made it to the bunker. I never made it to the
it
bunker.
felt it felt like it was really long that we were in there, but I know in reality it was probably less than a minute. It was
Nah,
probably less than a
nah. I
minute.
think it was longer than that. Because I had to help carry some guys to the aid station. Um, and it took us like a good like 5 minutes before the oil. Like, dude, when we were
Yeah, but we
working,
wasn't.
while we was
We
working,
were running. We were already moving before the all clear, man.
yeah, I
Like
know
people were already started pouring out.
some people started coming out to help us. I remember it was me, Sergeant Elliott, um, dude, even Sergeant Major. After the all clear, Sergeant Major
Oh,
came
Tom
down and
Major
started
was a
helping.
badass, bro. He was a badass. Sound Major Bauer,
Yeah,
and I gained a lot of respect for him too. Even though I didn't like him, I didn't like him at first because he always caught me with my shaving profile,
right.
and he would always be like, "Hey, I know it doesn't say it can be that long." And me being a smart ass of a soldier, I would pull my profile out and be like, actually, it really does." Until one day he said, "By the end of the day, it won't." And for sure, First Sergeant Deathridge called me, and he was like, "Come down to my office."
So first Sergeant Deathridge called you into the office because Sergeant Major Bauer said,
Called me with my shaving profile. So he called me in the office, and he was like, when I got there, he was like, "You would think that you would have came down here with a clean shaved face, but yet you come in here with the same beard you just got in trouble for." And I told him, I was like, "Hey, listen, the medics gave me this profile. I'm just abiding by it." So he was like, "Nah, go back to the medics." So I went to the aid station, and they changed it. Right then and there, they changed it. And from there, uh, Sergeant Major caught me, I think one more time after that at Chow. And that was it. I was like, all right, let me stay on top of this. But I gained a lot of respect for him because he was definitely in action. He didn't hold back
right.
when shit was going down. So
Yeah, Sergeant Major Bauer, I recall he was there after the fact, though. We pretty much had almost everybody to the aid station. I remember Sergeant Peters, Staff Sergeant Peters. He, dude, I just watched him come out from his fucking chew, like his. shit was crushed. Like he fell into the floor. The floor gave out, and then that was another dude that got up and brushed that shit off. He's all burnt to fuck, you know.
So coming, I remember coming out of the bunker, and the first thing it was me and Davis. I remember Davis was we helped. I believe his name was Sergeant Fisher. Was in his room on the other side of that porta john that blew up.
Yeah,
He was on the other side of that room, on the side of the seawalls, and his AC flew off his wall
and
and
hit him in the
landed on his
face.
face.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I remember me and Davis, we helped him to the aid station. And that's when I seen you. I seen you, and I can't remember who else it was, but I think it was two other people, and you guys were carrying Centrone. And this is where it get a little real because I remember you yelling and screaming and saying, "He's dead. He's gone." And I could remember seeing Centrone's body lifeless.
yeah, dude. When I went to
And
pick him
then
up, his skin just you know came into
I
my hands.
I
He was
remember
he was dead as a stiff dog, dude. I recall.
I'm so glad we could talk about this too, because I know for you, I know it took you as long as it took me. And I remember before we decided to do this interview, I remember having a phone call with you, and we really got into the details of June 6th. And I was like, it was like we both had an epiphany where we were like, hey man, I appreciate you for getting to this point because for years it was hard to talk about,
Right,
you
shit.
know, and then the only
We got
guys that you feel like you can talk about it with are guys like us.
yeah. Well, shit. Look at we lost a lot of battle buddies, dude, who came back afterwards, after the fact. It is difficult. It is something hard to deal with. It's not a movie. So
Oh yeah, no, it's not, and it's more than just a story, you know.
yeah,
Um,
it's history, dude.
I I don't remember too much. I remember it's like glimpses of what was going down. I remember there not being any water in
Yeah,
the fire trucks on post.
right.
I remember, um, I remember trying to muster up the courage to go in there while the fire was going and rounds were cooking off,
Hmm.
and it was unbearable. The heat, no matter how much uh, water bottles you dumped on a towel and threw over your head, it was unbearable.
Yeah, no,
And then that's when I remember the Iraqis coming from outside of post with the water truck
dude, and
and helping us put it down.
that was like way
That
later.
was at the end of it
Yeah,
all, right? Um, I remember from there helping at the aid station, and at this point, Centrone is now alive.
right. They brought him back.
They brought him back, and now he's even talking.
Right. He started
And I
screaming at me. I went over there and I told him to shut the fuck up. I remember. And he started screaming at me in Spanish. And the medic's like, "What's he saying?" I was like, "Don't worry about it." But he was screaming. He was like, "Let me die. Déjame
died,
morir."
yeah,
Just,
yeah.
and his he was
I
he was
remember
fucked
me
up.
and Sergeant Diaz
Yeah, Sergeant Daddy D
strapping
was
him
there.
to the litter.
Yeah.
We strapped him to the litter, and I didn't take him to the bird, but I remember strapping him to the litter, and I remember pleading with him because he was yelling the same things to me, and I'll never forget the way he looked into my eyes. It was almost soul piercing, man. And he
To kill him.
begged me as if I had some control over it. You know what I'm saying? Like if I could just end it all for him. And
Right.
I just kept pleading with him. Hey, Poppy, put your arms down. Poppy, put your arms down. You got to put your arms down. We'll strap you in. We're going to get you home. And I remember his arms were so stiff. He was laying in the litter and his arms were just so stiff. Even with me trying to aid him down,
Yeah.
it was like his body was already dead.
He was
And
fried, food. He was cooked. He was burnt, dog. That
yeah,
the rocket actually came in and hit his room.
yeah,
That's where the round hit because when that round came down through, and all I seen was a T wall. Just I said, "Fuck, that's Centrone's room," and I fucking took the fuck off, dude. I was the first one on scene, dude. I was literally watching everybody. I just hit the T wall, dog. I just boom, bah, oh shit. Then I see another round, down. I was like, oh fuck, and then I fucking took the fuck off running, dude. And
And I remember the first time they called Cook's battle roster number, and I automatically knew it was him because there's only so many soldiers it could be. Yeah, I might not know your last four, your social, but I do know the first letter of your name.
right,
And then when they call out that battle roster number, you just know it's from your platoon.
right. So
And he was the only one unaccounted for.
I already knew Cook was gone. Me and Castro, because while everybody was in the bunker, me and Castro were trying to get him out. But what happened was Centrone's room, the bottom of the uh, what is it, the chew, pushed up against Cook's door, dude, and we couldn't get the damn door open, and he was pounding on the fucking door and screaming for us, and I told him like, Cook, we're gonna try to get you out, and me and Castro tried, and then Sarn was behind me getting out Blackburn, Blackburn and Almeida. Those were the pretty much the last guys that was there. They were the
Get
last ones
pulled, yeah.
to get pulled out. Almeida, Blackburn, and Cook. Those were the last three. And then that's when the fucking all clear came and HHB headquarters platoon came out and they went and got the fire truck which had no water in it and they didn't. Cook's room's still cooking, dude. So but he's not screaming anymore. So I had to just move on, dude. There was nothing I can do. You know, me and Castro for sure. I know
A little bit
Castro cried
information
about that.
before and after that too. Like I had just came back from R&R, and we talk about, taping people to litters on their birthday. I never got to experience that because my birthday was June 8th.
Right.
So
Everybody
we
was
were in a state of, yeah, we were just in a state of fucking
depression and high anxiety.
depression and super high anxiety. I remember First Sergeant Dethridge caught me walking into Building 5 one day, and he could just see it on my face, and he stopped me. And in that moment, he stopped me. Rank didn't even matter to me, man. I felt so strong about what was going on. It didn't even matter to me. And I kind of just, let him have it. Like, I think it's bullshit that we just got blown the fuck up and we're still sleeping in the fucking shoes with three sandbags on top of them. Like, that's going to fucking do something.
Right. It might stop a mortar, but we got hit by
Yeah, or a little
rockets.
fucking 60 millimeter mortar.
Yeah.
But I remember giving him that conversation and him telling me, look, I get it. And he kind of leveled with me. It was like rank went out of the window and he leveled with me. He said, look, I get it. He said, we're gonna move everybody into building 5.
So so yeah, and I don't want to talk shit, dude, but I just have a I just feel some type of way when it comes to that guy because he was a mentor of me. The shit with First Sergeant Ornick, he was a bad buddy fucker. He's the one who fucking
Right. And
dined
then I
out,
remember
and then
and then I remember he
he
got
got
promoted.
frocked.
Right.
He got frocked first sergeant, and you know there was no loyalty to people, but I was still loyal to him because he was my truck commander. You know what I mean? He was my TC, so I was do whatever that guy told me to do, and I always try to be the best of the best. I always wanted it to. When he pulled up to the truck, dude, it was ready to go, and he wasn't waiting on shit. All you had to do was get in the truck. Let's go. I wanted to be a good soldier, dude, and that's what I always strive to be. And that day, after everything died down, dude, I was exhausted because to be frank, we got attacked. Rounds are falling. People are getting hurt. The people that are hurt and mobile are able to walk to their rooms or walk to the aid station and get help or walk to the bunker. The guys who were fucked up and were immobile or trapped, there was nothing they can do. So it was only like maybe like a good 6 or 7 of us that are there trying to help these guys, and rounds are still coming in. Once all the rounds stop, you got headquarters and golf, and the all clear comes out, and everybody starts
Yeah,
coming
that's when
out the
everybody
bunker,
starts pouring out.
and we already got all the casualties pretty much over there, except for like the guys who died in the bunker. Um, Me and Castro went over, been through over there. Castro was coming this way, and I was like, dude, them guys in the bunker are already dead. So First Sergeant Van was crawling, and I was like, come on, top. And he's like, nah, go get the guys in the bunker. So I was like, all right, you good? Because there was no more rounds coming in. So I was okay, perfectly fine with letting First Sergeant Van just continue to crawl. And I seen the other guys were coming, the other medics were coming. So I go over there, check those guys, and I was like, all right, nothing I can do here. Keep it pushing. And as I keep coming this way, I come around the corner. I tell Castro, and Castro's going with the other medics, and Castro and the other medics go to, because they were the medics. They were the medics. The guys who were
Yeah,
in the bunker, they were the fucking medics. And when I dropped off over there with Sergeant Diaz and the other dudes, um, the medics were like, somebody get the other medics. And I was like, bro, the other medics, sorry.
gone, right.
So they went over there and collected them dudes, and then they put them in the bunker behind the aid station on ice. Um, you know, but those dudes, man, I remember seeing them the night before.
Hard visual, yeah, hard
Oh,
visual.
yeah, and then I remember seeing them.
I remember, I remember the first time Fishback went on a convoy with us,
Right, because
and he was scared shitless, man. We had to talk him into it. Like, hey, man, you're good, bro. Like, we can't go out on a convoy with that kind of vibe, you know.
yeah, you
Like,
got
you're with us, we're all together, and we're all dealing with the same thing you're dealing with, brother. We're just processing it a little bit different.
yeah, yeah. When that those rounds came in and they stopped, it was like it got quiet. There was no more.
Yeah,
There was no more screaming. Uh, the only thing that was still on fire was Cook's room. And it was a tiny fire at that point because uh, I think what it did with how they got into Cook's room when the Iraqi fire truck came. I remember all I remember is seeing the fire truck and all I see is all of Golf Company and whatever guys we had that weren't fucked up from Bravo run over there because I remember seeing Nelson's big ass. These guys were taking off
yeah,
one
water bottles. I
one
couldn't believe
cap
it.
at a time. And Nelson ran over there, and I recall looking over there, and I look at Nelson because he's a big black motherfucker, and you know what I
Yeah,
mean. He stands the fuck out, dude, over there. These fucking
yeah,
motherfuckers like 7 foot tall, dude. Goddamn. Yeah, dude, as wide as my house. You know what I mean? And this motherfucker, and I hear him, dude, because he's loud. He's like, "What are you guys doing? No, no, not one." So he just takes the whole fucking thing, and he's like, "Gah, gah, 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 gah." Because
pours the whole pack.
yeah,
Yeah,
dude, and you know what I mean. They just because they're like one and trying to pour like nah. This food was like uncapping a whole bag
yeah,
of sealed water bottles. You know what I'm saying? And just taking the whole thing and just like trying to fill it in, dude. And I was just like, man, dude, you guys are doing that shit for nothing. I was like, I'm not going over
yeah.
there. I'm gonna go see who the fuck I can help. And then I remember seeing that, dude. The guys who were in the aid station bunker, it was a lot of the guys that got fucked up, like Bruder and people that were in that
Hmm.
row of truths. Um, and every time I would come over there, they kept fucking screaming at Zach, come in, get in the bunker. I was like,
Yeah, no, yeah. That's one thing I can't say about you, bro. You're an animal, man. I remember the first time I got in a bunker with you. Now I always tell this story. Um, we're all in there really bunkered down, kneel down, away from the entrance, and you are just like you're fucking stargazing, bro. You're just at the end of the bunker, and you're just like looking at the flashes, and we're just looking at you like, yo, this guy is a fucking nut.
Well, the secret is, dude, that the same round whenever a lot of these people are not like us. You know what I mean? We could do steel on steel. We can same target,
Yeah,
same. You know what I mean? Just like maybe an inch away. These dudes, man, the first round hits.
yeah, they're shooting off of a pipe and a scissor jack.
Right.
So
So
displacement must be must be crazy.
right. So what you do is you want to go sit in the crater because another round is not going to hit that crater.
Gotta hit that crater,
Yeah,
right?
and you got to hear it, dude. You got to hear that whistle.
I remember I remember Kova ran out his chew one time, and there was a mortar round sitting in his trash can.
Oh, dude, June 6th, bro. June 6th. It would have been a bad day. A rocket was in the bunker behind our room.
It's
Dead ass.
crazy.
Yeah, it didn't go off. It didn't go off. That's what I was getting ready, dude, to go to the OP. And usually I would have already been at in Centrone's room because me and Centrone go to the OP together. But that day he had off so that he could study for the board because the board was in a couple of days. But what happened was I was getting ready for OP, and then I had just left the bathroom for with the medics because they were getting ready for the day. So
Yeah.
when the first round hit foo, those fools ran to that bunker that was outside the bathroom.
Like the latrine, right? I
I
remember.
I ran to back towards my room to grab my shit, but I was in my Crocs and army shorts, food like I didn't have shit on me. You know what I mean? And then a round came in, food, and I think that was the first round to hit, the one by our room, because I literally was standing there, fool, and I fucking flew up, bah, and I hit the fucking top of the chew.
The T-Wall.
No, the top of the chew. Nah, then I ran out because there was no incoming, but the impact from the
Yeah.
first round, like boom, like I came out of the room and Kova ran to the bunker because Kova was my neighbor. Were you living with Kova at that time?
Nah.
On June 6th, who was
Wait,
your
wasn't
roommate?
I thought Kova was on the I thought Kova was on an OP outside of
Mm-mm.
in one of those hotels, the high rise buildings.
The Steel P? No, the Steel Snipers? No,
Yeah,
no, I don't think he was.
because I remember he was part of the effort that destroyed the truck.
I
If I'm not mistaken,
I don't
I
remember
think he was
that.
part of the effort
I
because
know walk
Kova's
up.
got his own stories. He's got his own stories too. I hope that he gets on and shows, shares his side too. But
Yeah, or maybe it wasn't Kova. I don't remember who it was, but it was somebody from next door, and you weren't there because you weren't in the bunker. Because that was one of the first things I looked for. Where's Gonzo? Um, and I could have sworn it was Kova in there, and then the fucking
I never bunked with Kova overseas. I think when we got to he might have been in my room when we got to building 5, but I don't remember him. I remember Pitnick was in my room in building 5. I could never forget Pitnick, man.
yeah. Yeah, when that first that round, dude, it landed in that trash can, crazy because it was just the trash can was still standing there and the round was just in it,
Yeah,
and I didn't know, and
crazy.
I didn't know until then I heard the next round and I looked over and see, oh shit, we gotta go, and everybody from that bunker took off, and then that's when I started just going and helping people because as I was running, because I was running around the corner to go check to where the medics were at because they were just on the other side of us, and I ran through there. Uh, I was actually running to go check on Alums. Remember my boy Alums from First Cab?
Yeah,
He was
yeah, I
actually.
remember him.
I thought he was working uh, the headquarters. So I was running that way, and you passed by that bunker. So before First Sergeant Van Hare told me about the guys in the bunker, I already knew that there was people hitting the bunker because I
Yeah,
had already passed by and seen that. And then I come around the corner, that fucking shitter gets hit, and I get fucking tossed. And then I see another round hit fucking Centrone's that back room where Centrone shit and just shit flying, dog. And I just from there it was just go mode. Like everything was just crazy because my mind was like, go check on this food, go check on this food, go check on this food.
Yeah,
So I was just running everywhere.
yeah,
But first,
that was a tough day, man.
first, what pissed me off, dude, about Top was all shit was said and done. Nelson was over there pretty much like commanding motherfuckers over by that fucking thing, and there was nothing else for me to do. I already pretty much hit all the camp, dude, minus Alpha area. Alpha really didn't get hit like we did. You know what I mean? They didn't take casualties like us. They didn't really, Alpha Battery didn't really, and most of the guys were at the QRF shack, which didn't get hit. Um, and Sarn Diaz was like, "I need you to go get a C10 roster. We need to see who's unaccounted for." And I told him I was like, "Sarn D, you know Cook is still in his room." He's like, "Yeah, I know." I was like, "All right." So I run over to Building 5 because that's where the our headquarters was. And you know what's crazy? Our headquarters used to be next to the barbershop. Do you remember that? Before we got rid of the
Don't remember
Iraqis?
that.
All right, so you know where the defect was at, right?
Yes.
You know where Alpha Battery was living?
They
That
they were closest to the defect.
right. So it was the defect and then T walls and then Alpha Battery sleeping quarters, which was just two rows of chews, and then it was the volleyball court, then our set of chews.
Right.
That used to be when we first got there. It was three Iraqi barbers, and then it was a movie shop. Remember,
I do remember that now. I do
and
remember that.
they were there for a little bit, and then once the rules changed, where we were not allowed to leave base anymore, they fired. They kicked everybody out.
Yeah. I remember they had the female. There was a female barber over there.
Yeah, she would always flirt with me, dog.
Every,
She thought,
everybody remember, huh? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
she had the thick booty,
Crazy, man. I always tell people that when I did have my hairline, that was one of the cleanest fades I ever got was from
dude.
one of those Iraqi barbers, man.
Yeah, dude, I still have one of them fools on my Facebook. The guy who would cut me up, him and
Yeah,
he would, because name was Muhammad, but he's been to the states, and but he lives in Iraq, so he's like, oh, I get these government. He wanted to do interpreter, he wanted to be an interpreter and stuff. He was
he
cool.
wanted to aid, and he knew what the mission was.
Yeah, he was cool. And that's what they do. They do a real, background check on a lot of these people to make sure it's not, people that are gonna try to kill us. Because you're trusting the motherfucker with a sharp,
Oh
sharp
yeah,
edged razor, dog.
yeah. Remember Batten hiding like 300 people? You remember that day
The what?
when we were outside just doing bat and hide on like 300
Oh,
people?
yeah, I was the bat and hide guy. I hated that. Fingerprinting, taking pictures of
Yeah,
their
yeah,
eyeballs,
eyes,
taking
all
their
that.
Jinsia, their ID, and writing their information over how we see it on there. And that shit was useless because it didn't matter. Yes,
Well,
it
we did manage to catch two guys. I remember we had two guys.
right. But the thing is, because I learned how that shit worked on my first deployment, because I was the bat and hide guy. My first deployment, another deployment. When I went on this deployment, they already knew that I had the certifications of doing that. So what it is it gets put into a database, but unless they update it to the database, it's no good. So like we have all these, bats and hides in the system that's stored on there, but the only way that we'll have it pop up is if it was synced with the database, which it was never synced. What they would
Mm.
do is just take our bats and hides and then they would upload it to the data system. And only if you had an updated data system will pop up and be like, hey, well,
This guy's wanted. Yeah,
this guy's been around 6 incidents. It link
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So if it ain't linked, it's not linked. But they did, link them eventually. But when we had them and we were hiding somebody, it's like, dude, you look familiar. I seen you, but it's not in our database because he did something from another AO. But yeah, dude, I keep getting off subject. I want to say it, but it's just. So I go. Sar Diaz tells me to go get that C10 roster so we can uh,
See
get
see who's
accounted.
not accounted for.
You see who's missing, right? Who's dead? Who's gone? And I get up over there to building 5, dude, and the door's closed. So I fucking kick it open. Boom! I fucking comes off the hinges, dude. Not off the hinges, but off the lock.
Yeah.
Guess who's sitting there with his feet up on the desk, smoking a
First on death ridge.
fucking smoking a cigar, dog.
Uh,
And he tells me, "What's going on out there? Is everybody okay?" I said, "Nah, Top. We got a lot of fucked up people. I need a C10 roster." He gives it to me, and I take off. So we're over there doing all kinds of shit, dude. And then, you know, like I said, once the all clear and everybody started coming out or whatever, then I see, you know, Sergeant Major Bauer was out there before the all
Dude,
clear.
Sergeant Major Bow was out there fucking kicking doors. He was in the shit, man. He was definitely in the action. Definitely led by example.
Right. I got
That's
a lot of
that's that
respect for
old
that dude.
school
Yeah.
that old school army, man.
Yeah, dude, he's been shot a few times too. He's got Purple Hearts. Uh, I just didn't like that he was so airborne, airborne, airborne.
Yeah, well, I
He's the
mean,
82nd, dude.
you
Like,
know,
come on.
this comes with it, you know.
Right.
With it.
But
You remember who was the lieutenant that was I know we always talk about this, but he was pulling his sensitive items
that
out of his room while soldiers were being pulled out
I
of
think
rooms. He was pulling out
I think
his.
he died.
Did he? He
Yeah,
wasn't the one that died in the training
in
in Japan. That
Taiwan.
was him.
Taiwan.
Oh, oh, Taiwan. Wow.
They were doing training in Taiwan. I think his name was Lieutenant Carter,
Lieutenant Carter. Yeah.
and he was Captain Carter when he died in Taiwan in a training accident. He died before getting to training.
Wow.
Like he didn't even report yet, is what I seen, or something like that. Or they posted it in the 1-7
Yeah. I think they, if I remember correctly, was found in his bathroom.
right dead.
Yeah.
They didn't know if it was targeted or what. But yeah, he died on his way to training in Taiwan. He didn't make it to training. He was in Taiwan and died in the bathroom. I don't know if he died I don't know if it was in his hotel room or I can't recall if they said that it was like a public restroom. They found him dead in. But yeah, he was rest in peace, bro. But yeah, he was pulling out cruisers, 50 cal, 240 Bravos, dude, and he was pulling out his tough boxes, because he had his. He told
Yeah.
I think he told Holmes. I was standing next to him, and Holmes was like, "No,"
Yeah.
and
I'm not
and
pulling
just
out your
walked
tough
up,
box.
dude. And then rounds are cooking off, from the
Yeah.
fires because everybody had bullets and shit in their rooms and shit. Dude, we lost M4s because nobody
Oh,
was
I can
grabbing
imagine.
nobody was grabbing their weapons. You
Why
know,
would you?
I did. I grabbed mine, dude, just in
Yeah.
case. I was.
I remember when we first got the Connexes dropped. Uh, funny story. I left when the Connexes first dropped, I had my rifle and I clipped it onto the Connex and I was helping people get their boxes and everybody's so excited because, we've been waiting for all our personal shit to come. And I remember I left my rifle clipped on that Connex and I walked away from it because I had just gotten after helping everybody else, I had just gotten my box. And I was like, fuck it, I'm about to go and pack my shit. My laptop's in there. I get to my room and then here comes Sergeant Diaz. And he's like, sensitive items check. And I'm like, mad nonchalant. Yeah, yeah. Here's my MVGs. Boom, boom. My rifle's behind the door. So he closes the door. He goes, no, it's not. I'm like, yeah, it's not. And he was like, yeah, I got you. You're mine for the next 2 weeks. I was like, oh fuck. He was like, go to the armory, go get the 240, and you're gonna take that shit to chow, full battle rattle, every single day until I say stop. Man, I miss so many meals. I used to beg Peterson, bro. I used to be like, yo, Peterson, please bring me a to-go plate. I don't even care what it is. Oh, I'm going to the gym after. I used to be like, you suck.
Yeah, it was nuts, man.
Aside from the trauma of June 6th, it was a lot of good times during our deployment, man. A lot of morale boosters. It was fun. If it were not for that,
Right. And we have to make the fun. You know what I mean? Because it's not fun.
yeah, of course. I mean, every day of your life you have to make fun. Life is not fun,
Right.
but it is if you make it. You know,
Yeah.
and we definitely made fun, man. Doing the stupidest shit, man. You know how many I always tell people that I met the gayest straight guys I've ever met in my life in the army
Oh, you talk
because none
about
of
me to
us
the
are
day?
gay. Yeah,
Dude, if you don't shut up, I'll kiss
because
you on your forehead, bitch.
right, because none of us are gay. But the amount of gay shit that goes down, man. Oh man, funny
It's a
times.
love. It's a true love. That's what it is, dude. Like I genuinely,
Yeah,
truly, honestly love all you motherfuckers. Like
yeah, man. I tell people all that I tell people that all the time.
all right, dude. Well, we're coming up on time, dude. You got anything you want to say? We pretty much went over
Uh,
your
yeah, we kind of
little
went through the nitty
experience.
gritty of it.
Yeah.
I could conclude by saying, I know that the Raven camera or whatever that was up on Cold Base caught pretty much right after that Porta John got blown up, and just to see that point of view, that aerial point of view of our base getting hit
Yeah.
it made it that much more real, man.
So I
And
actually,
then to see it on Live Leak, they posted it on Live Leak
yeah,
from their end,
from their
right?
perspective, right?
I remember that.
I don't
And
know
the
if
servers in Iraq, you can view all that shit. There's no limit on the servers over there.
right. What we need to do is try to find that video footage to give a
Somebody's got it. I'm sure.
yeah. So the only reason why I picked up because that thing is manually operated. Um, it was Sergeant Brown who was up on the
That spanned
OP.
over.
He turned the camera. He even said, "I was looking for you, Zach," because he sees me in the camera. Like he turns the camera because he lived in my aisle. He turned the camera, and I was his relief. Me, Centrone, Pity,
I was
uh,
up there with Pity at one point.
and I forgot who's two other guys for the Hog 2 side. Oh, the HHB guys, the
Okay.
the sniper foos. Damn, what the
Yeah, yeah. It was a medic. No, it was
no, it
it was
was
a oh no, I know who you're talking about. Oh
the
man, I
little
can't remember
Mexican
his
fool.
name.
The little
Yeah,
Mexican fool.
yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's a sniper, 11 Bravo guy, infantry cat.
I think his name started with an L if I'm not
Nah, I think it was like Antonio or some shit like
mistaken.
that.
I don't
I
remember,
don't
but I do
remember.
remember who you're talking about.
Yeah, they were assigned to us, right? And we went up there uh, after the fact. After they did the C10 roster and all the other stuff, Brown was supposed to get relieved at 6, but I don't think they told us to go out there until uh, I think we got up there at like 9 or 10 o'clock. So he was up there for like 3 hours. And I told him I was like, dude, I need a little bit of break, dude. Like my heart is still hurting, dude. I'm still trying to process this shit. I just
Yeah.
I just watched all my a bunch of my buddies die, dude. Like I literally me and Castro was standing there and discovered Cook's body when they finally pried open the chew, and everybody was gone.
Uh, yeah.
You know, um, me, Castro, Sergeant Major Bauer were there, and Iraqi fire truck.
I
They
think what made it sting a little more was when we were all hoping for updates on Centrone. And then we got the update that he passed. And
Yeah,
the part that hurt the most was, after holding a funeral service for the guys that did pass June 6th, then we had to repeat it again,
for Central.
a week later. So yeah, that was tough, man.
I know they made me talk. They made me talk at his service.
The sniper was his name was Della Rosa.
Yeah.
It was Della Rosa, DeLuca, something like that. It was
No,
definitely
Della
something like
Rosa.
that's gonna bother me. It
Yeah,
was Della
it's
Rosa, right? I
Della
remember
Rosa.
him. I do remember him because I remember taking pictures with his 50 cal in the
Yes,
hallway of Building 5.
50 cal sniper rifle. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. His name was
yeah,
Della
man.
Rosa. And I remember. I think his name was Antonio Della Rosa.
Hmm.
Or Anthony De La Rosa or something like that. I got him on Facebook. I'm sure that fool don't ever post or anything, but I also don't really be looking at my Facebook. I just be sharing shit just so people don't be like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
people
Zach
were aware.
disappeared.
Yeah.
Where's he at? He's always on Facebook." No, I used to always be on Facebook. Not no more.
Listen, my Facebook got hacked, so unfortunately,
Right,
I've given up. For some reason, they want to be me. I don't know why.
right. I just let it be, dude. But yeah, I went up onto the OP and I I went to the camera and I sat in the room and I rewinded and watched it, and that's how I learned that Brown was dude. That you'll see that it happens, and then there's only one motherfucker running from our choose, our row of choose. You see me like just like a cockroach, dude. Oh no, you see all the people that were at the gym. You see them scattered like roaches, bro. Where you were
Yeah,
at.
definitely. Yeah, that's where that was. I was part of that group.
So all you see is that, and then you see me running like a maze, like and then rounds are and then and he's recording all this shit, dude. And I was like, Brown, that was me, dude. That's me coming out of the chew, dog. And he was like, oh shit, Zach. I love doo doo,
I
man.
remember after that we didn't take no. I remember there was an incident on Colt Base where Pitnick was he was I don't want to say scared to shoot at a target, but he was a little hesitant. And I remember who was it? I think Sergeant Elliott was up there, and he was like, light it up," and it took him a while to convince Pitnick to
To start
send a
shooting.
few rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but after that, I remember a major came up, and he was like, "Listen, we know that you guys are worried about getting in trouble for firing rounds." He was like, "I'm just here to say that we got you, and we're gonna protect you no matter what." But
Yeah,
after that, we was firing warning rounds for everything.
dude. Me and Centrone, when we go up there, we take breakfast. That motherfucker loved baseball, dog, and he was a hell of a thrower. This
He's
motherfucker,
Puerto Rican, bro.
he's the only motherfucker who could take a hard boiled egg and get it to fucking hit the fucking gas station.
And that's a ways away.
Yeah,
That shit's not close.
yeah. From the roof, he was like, "Yeah, dude." He hit somebody. He hit somebody. He'd be like, "Oiga, mira, cabrón." And just start going off, dude. I'm like, bro. And he'd have the bullhorn.
Yeah,
I was like, hey, wait. They don't speak what the fuck you're talking.
it's a big
And
Spanish motherfucker.
I speak Spanish, and I didn't understand what the fuck that motherfucker was saying. When he started talking, Central and just be like, like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Simon way, Simon.
You know what's crazy is that when I went home for R&R, I actually saw some. We went home for R&R at the same time, and or was it before deployment? I can't really remember, but I remember going to Orlando and going down to, I believe, City Walk, and I saw him randomly on the strip, and we took a picture. Man, we took a picture in front of like a Halloween. No, not no Halloween. It was like a Mickey Mouse inflatable or some shit.
Hell yeah, yeah. Orlando, yeah, he's probably down there with his old lady.
Yeah. Oh, he was definitely with his kids and everything, man.
Yeah, yeah. We had plans, man. He was supposed to uh, move in with me and Judith, and he was gonna sell me his little truck, and he was gonna get some new shit. He had that little pickup that his buddy had at his house, the other little Puerto Rican E5. But yeah, dude, there was a lot of plans, man. Everybody had, but all we could do is make the best of it, and we have, we took. I think the report said 51 casualties, six KIA
Yeah, it
or
was
five
actually
five KIA, and
June
then
6th. June 6th was the most U.S. soldier casualties taken in one day since March of 2009.
right.
And that happened June 6th, 2011.
Yeah, it was on the news. It was everywhere. It was kind of a big deal. And then they didn't want to send us home because they said, "Oh, it would look bad if we go." And the fucked up part is we had like they were already talking about like, all right, in a month we're gonna go to the green zone. We were supposed to go to the green zone in June, but since we got attacked in June, they're like, no, if we leave now, it's gonna make it look like we're retreating.
Yeah,
So the general came down. I got a fucking coin from that dude, and they came down and was like, no, we're not gonna leave. We're not gonna run. You know, they sent the infantry and strikers and
yeah.
Abrams.
I remember we was part of the missions. What were they called? The AS something. AS something missions. We did a couple blackout missions, driving with no headlights on,
Yeah,
with your infrared headlights.
yeah, that was stupid. They didn't, and
Yeah,
then and they didn't take the. It was stupid, dude, because you had you had a manage battalion, you had to manage air weapons, you had to manage the SEAL team, and then you had to manage the SF thing. It's like, dude, why the fuck is SF and the Navy SEALs not going in? Why the fuck are they telling us to go in?
right.
Like, why are we doing this stupid
I mean,
shit?
they were there with us. I guess just to have more of a presence.
Right, but there
Um,
was a couple of missions where they didn't go out at all. They're like, you guys go check it out for us.
yeah.
It was
I
stupid.
remember they were badass though, man. We were in full battle. We had like 100 pounds of gear on us. They had baseball caps on.
Hey, they can keep the baseball cap, dog. When you get them
No,
bullet,
no, I hear you. No, I hear you, man. But it just goes to show, like, they were ready for that.
they're ready to
They
die.
had dual,
They want to
they
die
had
comfortable.
dual, they had dual 50 cal mounted
Oh, I know.
while we were while we were rolling out with 240s.
Nah, dude.
You know,
They had this. You remember that the little Asian dude who carried that big ass Barrett 50?
yeah, I remember him running up the fucking coat base, blowing past us on the stairs. We've been running it for 4 months now. He does it on his first time, runs right past us.
Carrying that big ass 50, right? Yo,
Yeah, man.
nah. The coolest shit was uh the fucking car pulls up, right? They're at the Hog 2 side, and we're at the Coat Base side. And they pull up, dude, and in front of the gas station, Iraqis pull up, jump out, da, 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 jump back in the car, dude. Like they did it so quick that we couldn't even engage. Like I jumped on the crew server and I was like, ah, and I was about to start shooting, but they were already. Ah. And I calling it up on the radio, and I'm coming out of the Hog 2 side or out of the Coat Base side, and from the Hog 2 side across the roof, I just see this little ass motherfucker.
Running across. I remember that.
And dude,
I
he
remember that.
touched the ladder. There
So,
was another ladder to go on top of the other roof. He goes,
mhm.
one, two, he was on top, swings his fucking 50,
And let's all bow.
bow! And all you see is the car go, I was like,
That, man. I remember that. Yeah, that's just a difference, man. It's just a difference I remember a time, it's a difference in the training, man. I remember a time in Fort Polk where we were walking through, we were doing a foot patrol, and the guys we were attached to like infantry guys. And all you hear is and all these dudes, they just drop, and you're just like, oh shit, what's going on here? But it's just a difference in training, man. That's how they train.
Yeah, that dude, he sprinted so damn fast, dude, and he's small, bro. He was like
Yeah,
he he reminded me of like Chan Suk. Remember Chan Suk?
I remember Chance Look. Yeah,
He was the same build as Chan Suk, dude, just a little slimmer, more muscular. You know what I mean? Like this dude was small little Filipino, is what I think he was, dude. And it was crazy because they come out of our sight from the crew serve. They do a drive by on us real quick, and then and you're out. I can't
yeah.
turn
You
so
can only
much.
spare right. Yeah,
And this dude heard it. He heard the first caca.
immediate
He just
reaction. Yeah,
because when I come around, because it was so quick, dude. Like he was already halfway across the thing. As they're already taking off. He heard that first shot and just started running towards us. And then when he seen that I come around, I was like, out of sight, out of sight. He boop boop. He touched that ladder 3 times, dude, and that was like a 10-foot ladder. He said, "Cut, cut." He was on top, swung his 50. Damn! Dude, I'm
impressive
in.
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm like my head's outside, dude.
looking
Like,
around. Yeah,
yeah, like if there was a sniper, he would have had a free shot, dude. I was like, shoo. You know what I mean? And dude, it was just amazing to watch. Yeah, there's a lot of cool shit that I wish that we could sit around and inform people about how it is over there. How that brotherhood and stuff is, but you see it now
different,
though.
man.
You know what I mean? Like, look, some of us are still in, some of us ain't. A lot of our guys, are no longer with us. More guys. I think the count. I want to say the count is like 33 or something high like that, dude.
Man,
36. I think maybe even the 40s now.
is that just from Bravo,
Nah, that's
or is
just
that from the battalion as
that's
a
from
as a whole?
that's from the battalion as a whole. Poquet has a running track of it. Poquet got a long list, but that's not even counting like dudes that I knew like at Fort Hood, other duty
Yeah,
stations. When I was stationed with 2ID, I got a buddy who killed himself from there too. You know what I mean? So it's just it just sucks, man. And I can say I'm guilty of it too, man, because I was active duty
oh yeah,
and they kicked me out, man. I was pissed off and they kicked me out because I had a profile. And when I got here, bro, I didn't know I had PTSD. I didn't know anything was wrong with me because when I was on active duty, I was tired, so exhausted. You run, you do this, you do that. You're at work all day. You get home, it's like 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night,
yeah.
and
You're not even thinking about PTSD.
you're just thinking about taking a cat nap. Your cat nap just happens to
Yeah,
be 3, 4 hours. You wake up and you're doing it all over again. But the point of the matter is that when I got out, that I didn't know I had something wrong with me, and then I had more time because I wasn't working so much. I wasn't, you know,
you have more time to sit with it. Yeah,
yeah,
I completely get that.
and I tried to take my life, unfortunately, twice, but I'll never do that again because I did learn that there's motherfuckers out there that do care and got love for me. Gonzo, you saved my
Yeah,
life, dog. You know what I mean? Like I was so down and out, dude. Like nobody. It wasn't that nobody was talking to me; is that I wasn't reaching out to nobody, and nobody was reaching out to me. I went from talking to you guys all the time to I didn't hear from nobody.
yeah. Not even seeing nobody.
I
Right.
didn't see nobody. I had nobody to hang out with, and it was just a spiral of depression. And then I was seeing my buddies taking their lives, and I was just like, I thought, you know, maybe they're in peace. Maybe I should do
Yeah,
that too, because I was lost. I was confused. And then I got out the VA, my medical retirement. They say, all right, you're medically retired. My paycheck was like $700, dog, a month. Like that's what they were trying to give
yeah,
me. But then the VA is like, okay, well, we're gonna give you this much, and it was like $1,700. I was making like 6 grand as a staff sergeant. You know what I mean? I went from making $6,000 to 1,700. Like, come
yeah.
on. And they're like, well, don't worry about work. Try to file for Social Security and go get help. So I didn't work. I didn't work. I tried to file for Social Security. Social Security denied me like 3 times, um, and I had to stop getting help. I had to stop seeing counselors and start going to work. So when I was now I'm being stressed out from civilians and working, and I still don't know how to cope with my PTSD. I said, you know what, fuck it. Took all these pills, tried to drink myself stupid, and family finding me, taking me to the hospital, admitting me and all this and that. But it really took. I went dark 2 years, dude. I didn't leave the house. I didn't care to talk to nobody, nothing. Everybody was like, "Damn, does Zach die?" Now I was there, and you know, you guys started checking in on me, and then we did our cruise, dude. And I was just like, man, I got to get out of this funk. But
Yeah, man. I always talk about that cruise. I always talk about how I took you on your first cruise, and now you've been on fucking like 10, and I've been on like 3.
yeah, yeah. But I use it for exposure therapy, dog, because you see how it was when I go on the cruise with you. I'm like security, fool. I'm really like
Yeah,
uptight. I'm really not. So you know, I'm always on high alert. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But it is what it is. One day I'm gonna. That's the plan, is to go back to normal. You know, it's
yeah, man.
it's to be
Uh,
be
when you
normal.
tell me things like I saved your life, bro, I really hold that like dear to me, bro. I tell a lot of people about that. You know what I'm saying? Because you are one of my best friends in life, bro. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I could open up to you about anything, and it's just a bond that you don't find that with any people, bro.
Right.
You have people that say they're your friends, but will they fly to Vegas and sleep on your floor? You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's the type of shit I'm on, man. That's how much love I got for you, bro.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I
I
and
know,
I
dude.
knew, and even after the cruise, we went on that cruise, and then I went and visited you like a month and a half later. This was the beginning of COVID. Vegas was it was dead. The
Ghost
streets were
Town.
dead.
It was my favorite
Yeah.
time, boy. Hey, my brother
Vegas,
was.
and that was my first Vegas experience, and I was like, "Oh, this fucking sucks." But we
Yeah.
did other things that really,
We went
really meant a lot
shooting,
more to me.
went
Yeah, we went
hiking.
shooting, we went hiking. Yeah, man. I even tell people about how you bring your daughter on that hike, bro. And
Yeah.
I always say, yo, Zach, he raised his kids militant, man. My daughter would have never ever made that hike.
It is
She
a
would have been
tough
like, "Let
hike,
me get
dude.
on your shoulders."
Nah.
Yeah, it is.
Nope. She was 3 years old, dog.
I remember,
She
man.
was
I
leading the
remember.
pack. She was leading the pack. I told her we're gonna go as
Yeah,
fast as my daughter, and she was moving.
yeah, she was, man.
Yeah, because she got to keep up with me. I try to teach my kids to be different. And that's my struggle, because you see how it is in other countries, man, and how good we have it here. It just sucks that people don't see how good they have it here. So I make it a little tough for my kids, because I want to make tough kids and not
Yeah,
entitled
you want
kids.
them to know it's not all a party.
Yeah. But once we got to the top of that mountain, dog, and just that fucking view and that fucking air is blowing on
Yeah,
you, it was just like
yeah.
accomplishment.
I remember, man. I remember that was a good. I never done no shit like that. Hike through the mountains. That was the first time for me, so
Yeah, and I
that was a
took
dope
I took I
experience.
took you on a tough one, dude. And I knew you were gonna make it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, climbing through all that shit. Man, you must have forgot where I came from.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm gonna kill Gonzo on this mountain.
Yeah,
Nah. Shit, I got that picture as my profile pic, food. That's one of my profile pictures.
man.
You doing this?
Yeah. Hang loose, man. I was in the hang loose era of my life. Just trying to, when I got home from the army, it was a hard transition for me too. Because, it's like you said, you come home and I came back to my hometown, and it was like, not that I didn't I had less love for the people that I grew up with, but it just wasn't the same, you know?
Well, because people
Like I could have,
change, dude. Like I try to reconnect, dude, with like my buddies here, dude. But everybody was on that same bullshit. They're fucking doing
I don't
drugs,
think it was
fucking
more,
stealing shit. They're fucking.
I don't think it was more so that people change. I just felt like I just compared the bond that I had with my Army brothers way too much to my regular friends, and it kind of made me feel like it kind of humbled me. To be honest, it definitely humbled me because I felt like such a sense of purpose when I was in service. I felt like I was actually contributing to something, and then to come home and I'm smoking weed on sitting on the couch and these other things. And it's kind of like it definitely puts you in that a state of like I don't know, you just feel like you have no purpose. You feel a little bit lost, and then like you said, you have time to sit and think with the thoughts that you weren't able to sit with before. And for me, when I ETS'd, it was only a few months after June 6th. It wasn't. I don't even think I got out. It was like 7 months, 8 months after my deployment that I came home.
Yeah, no,
You know, I
I watched everybody leave, dude, and I was one of the last guys to stay.
yeah, fucked up, man. What's his Derek told me that my name traveled the hallways for a long time after I was gone.
Yeah.
I looked at him, I was like, why wouldn't they have? Of
All right. Hey, well, that's I appreciate you for today, Gonzo.
course,
Uh,
man.
to the people that are watching this one, I'm gonna have Gonzo on the humbled all walks of life. Uh, we're not gonna focus so much on one day like we did today because we can sit here and talk June 6th all day. Like
Oh yeah, absolutely.
in just a small amount of time, dude, a lot has happened. We lived a life of a soldier, and that's the career we chose, and we're paying for it now. Uh, but I'm gonna have him on the show, so I want you guys to come and get to know my boy Gonzo on a personal note, so he could talk about how he was a little badass growing up to leave him to you know what turned him into a soldier and how he transitioned from soldier to civilian life. So make sure you come by and watch his episode where he talks about his walk of life and what humbled him. All right. Thank you guys. You want to say anything to the people? Your final conclusion, sir? Last words are yours.
I got nothing, man. I got nothing, but you got to take the good with the bad. You know, it's like that in everything you deal with in life. Got to take the good with the bad. Yeah, we had traumatic experiences overseas, but if I use that to define my entire military experience, I would say it was shit. So I try to take the good with the bad.
All right, y'all have a good one.